I'm Daniel Rees from Rees Architects, and I'm the founder of my practice, and I'm the lead architect and designer there. I was born in London, so I studied 3 different universities in London, and then I worked in quite a few different practices as well, doing from large kind of urban scale architecture down to interiors of shops and restaurants. When you're 20, I don't think you ever really kind of go, right, I want to be an architect, or you have that much vision. But I was really good at drawing and sketching, and I really like creating stuff. So being able to design something, then make it, for me was really quite important. So I did start a fine art degree because I really like drawing, but I quickly realized that actually I wanted more of a technical side to it as well. So then I went into architecture after that. I started the practice 11 years ago. So we're now a practice of 8 people. There's a mixture of interior designers and architects. And we focus on residential design, primarily residential refurbishments and extensions of homes in and around London. There's not really much else in London. There's not much space for new builds, but sometimes we do get involved in new builds as well. But a lot of our projects are based around period properties, in conservation areas, listed buildings, that kind of stuff. I think you can take into a lot more consideration. With a listed building, you definitely have to, because you have to get listed building consent. When it's in a conservation area, it's more externally what you have to, where it has to look like to fit in with the conservation area, to be in context with the rest of the conservation area. But internally, you can do pretty much what you want. So it's about respecting the building if you want to respect it, and how you treat it. The sketching part is definitely the first bit that we look at. First of all, we do analyze the building and talk to the client a lot more about how they like to live. And so our process definitely starts with designing, which is heavily sketching. And when we're starting to do any kind of concept, we'll always start with sketching, start with making models, but also on computer we'll do 3D models, and quite basic ones at the beginning to see where the light falls and how the building works. But yeah, starting from the concept side, that's the main thing. There's probably 3 main things that we try to think about with every project. One is functionality, because I'm really big on making a project or a home functional for the person who lives there. There's no point having a really minimal kitchen that looks really beautiful if you haven't got the right storage to put stuff away. It just looks cluttered all the time. The second thing is materiality. So we always trying to think about a project and how we can use the materials and the minimal amount of materials to really strengthen the ones that we are using. And the third aspect that we really like to think about is we say beauty, but it's more about making something that people really love. And I feel like over time it makes it more timeless, or it's more loved and cherished. So people are going to respect it, and it's going to last a lot longer because it's got that beauty in it. Materials are really important. Especially in architecture, because we're building a building and it's built from materials. So the more we can pull those materials through into every part of the building and consider them. So we're not just going to build a wall out of blockwork because it's the cheapest thing. If we can build a wall out of something that you can then expose in the inside, not only can it be visual, you can see that material, but it can affect the acoustics, it can affect the tactility of the space, the heating, the cooling. So there's so many different things you can pull out of materials, other than they just be a material to build something with. So trends in architecture, it's not a fashion piece, a piece of architecture. It's a building that typically should be around for hundreds of years, like the old Victorian buildings. So when you treat it like a fashion piece, it will go out of fashion. So we need to look at architecture in a way that is going to be timeless. And for me, the materiality of something is something that is timeless if it's done in the right way. The materials patinate over time, and they weather down and they change. They get more beautiful in that way. So for me, using the right materials that will get more beautiful over time rather than going out of fashion is more important. Yeah, I think wood it's quite a practical material. It's quite buildable. It's easy to make stuff from it, but it's also very warm. So it makes a house feel quite comfortable and quite warm. So for me, putting a lot of timber into the project in a home makes sense because it feels like a warm, comfortable space that you want to be in. Also, it breaks up the acoustics in a space as well quite well. So you go into houses where it's all polished floors and hard surfaces, and the noise reverberates around in the room quite a lot, especially when you've got lots of people over. And when you get that again, it doesn't feel comfortable to be in there. So I think the comfort and the functionality is increased when you use a lot of timber. The other thing that I do consider quite a lot is tactility. So you're obviously looking at stuff with your eyes and kind of listen, and you can hear everything with your ears. But the other sense that you really should pay attention to is how something feels. So when you come through a front door, if you've got a really flimsy handle that you open the front door with, you kind of instantly think that whole house is instantly quite flimsy and not well put together. So having key elements that are really nicely put together, nice to touch, quite strong. So like the Corston sockets and switches have got that nice tactility to them where you know it feels like a nice object that you're using. Again, you're subconsciously thinking this is a really nicely put together project because not only are you seeing it, but you're feeling it as well at the same time. So there's a couple of different elements that we're playing with here. We use the Corston fixtures and fittings. What we really liked about them is they're really driven by the materials. So quite a simple plate that's out of solid brass. It's already aged slightly. And all of the switches and buttons are quite elegant. So they're not detracting from what's around them either. It's just a nice, simple, elegant switch or socket that sits into the architecture. For me, when you have anything that's covered in a plastic that's protecting it, it doesn't age over time, and that plastic slowly wears away, and then what's underneath becomes different to what's on top. So to have something that's more of a raw metal material ages nicely and works with everything else that we're doing in a building. So that's what we picked, that particular brand. For us, we wanted something that sits into the house and makes it feel like it's been here for a long time, and it will be here for a long time.